Hi, welcome to MuZekTech. This is the ZenBook 14. It's a 14-inch ultra-portable laptop with the latest Intel 10th Gen processor. In this review, I'm gonna see how it performs, how it sounds, how it looks, how it feels, and if it's worth your money. If you're interested in what's in the box, it's the usual stuff: the laptop, some documentation, a 65-watt USB-C charger, and they give you a USB-C to headphone adapter, which is so kind. Oh, ASUS are so nice. And it's a nice looking box too. Giggity. This configuration costs $1,400 including taxes here in Sweden at the time of this recording. That's about 14,000 Swedish crowns or SEK. And for that you'll get a 10th gen Intel i7 1065G7 4-core 8-thread CPU running at 1.3 GHz base and 3.9 GHz boost, 16 gigs of dual-channel LPDDR4X 3200 MHz memory, soldered on, so it's not upgradable, but I think there are some configurations with up to 32 gigs of RAM. You also get a 512 gig Samsung NVMe SSD, and it's also upgradable. The screen is a matte 1080p 60Hz IPS panel with a claimed brightness of 400 nits and a wide color gamut. It has Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.0. The webcam is 720p, 30 FPS, and it also has a Windows Hello IR camera. The battery is 67 watt-hours and it's super lightweight at only 1.16 kilos. That's about 2.5 pounds. If we take a look at the chassis, it's an all-metal build with this spiral pattern on the lid. That looks very nice in my opinion, and feels very nice too. It only weighs, as I said before, 2.5 pounds, and it's one of the lighter Ultrabooks. There is a Ryzen version of this laptop too, and I believe the chassis on that one is mostly plastic, except for the top lid, that's aluminum. The port selection is also pretty decent. On the left side we have a full-sized HDMI port and two Thunderbolt 3 ports that are also used for charging, so you'll always have one port free for other devices. And on the right side we have a micro SD card slot and a full-size USB 3.0 Type A port. That's great to see considering the thinness of this laptop. But there's something missing. Where's the headphone jack? It's gone! So that's why they include the USB-C to headphone adapter in the box. The webcam is on the top bezel where it should be, and it has a 3D IR sensor for Windows Hello face recognition. That allows for quick login to Windows, though I had some problems with it not recognizing my face every time. That's probably because it can't handle my handsome face. Or maybe I wasn't looking at it nicely. Who knows? It happens so rarely that it's not a big deal. And here's what the camera looks and sounds like. The webcam quality is pretty good for a 720p webcam, but I do have some studio lights shining on my face right now, so maybe in a darker room it wouldn't be as good as this. And the microphones sound very good, and they make a good job at cancelling out some of the reverb in the room, as you can hear now. Yeah. And if I type on the keyboard here, yeah, you can hear a bit of key noise. It's nothing bad, really. Okay, tell me what you think in the comments down below. The keyboard feels nice and springy, there's not a lot of key travel, and there's no flex on the deck. It has 3 levels of backlighting and the light shines through the keycaps, so it's very easy to see the keys in a dark room. I would have liked the larger enter key, and the position of the delete key is right next to the power button, and I did accidentally hit it a couple of times when I was trying to hit the delete key. But if you get used to that, then it's a great keyboard overall. The trackpad is nice and big with a smooth glass surface. Even though it's a diving board design, it feels very good. There's also a light up number pad feature if you want to use a numpad, and all the gestures you would expect work perfectly on it because it uses Windows precision drivers. Overall, a very good trackpad. This is a 14-inch 1080p 60Hz 1-watt IPS panel that gets bright enough to use outside, about 400 nits, and it helps that the screen is not glossy. That eliminates almost all reflections. Not all models' configurations come with this screen. There's also a 250 nit option, so make sure to check which one it is before you buy. The color gamut is very good as well with 100% of sRGB. One downside is that it's not a touchscreen. I kind of expect it to be at this price point and form factor. The pixel response time is not that great. Moving objects around the screen looks smeared and blurry. It's even noticeable when watching videos and very noticeable when gaming. I used the 14-inch screen on 120% scaling. On 100% it was too difficult to see things at times, but maybe that's because I'm old. I had no issues with backlight bleed. A pretty good screen overall. A cool little feature is this screen hinge raising thing that happens if the laptop is on a table. It helps with airflow and tilts the keyboard up a bit, making it easier to type on, but it kind of doesn't work if the laptop is on your lap. I was not expecting much from the two bottom firing speakers, but the sound was very good, loud and clear with a good amount of bass and mids and smooth high frequencies. If you put the laptop on a table, it helps to project the sound even more, but it works surprisingly well on a lap or in bed. Here's a little sample compared to the HP Envy X360 13-inch. Claimed battery life is over 20 hours. I got about 16 hours out of it doing mixed things like editing audio, writing some scripts and watching videos on YouTube and Netflix. Of course, your mileage may vary. It depends on what apps you use. But this is the best battery life I've ever got from a laptop, and I think I know why it's that great. I'll talk about it shortly. And now for some performance benchmarks and thermals. If we take a look at Cinebench R20, I got a score of about 1200 points. At the start of the benchmark, the CPU boosted up to 3.1 GHz and the temps shot up to 98 degrees Celsius in a matter of seconds. And as fast as the CPU boosted, it started to throttle down to 2.7 GHz. And after a couple of more seconds, it stabilized at 1.7 to 1.8 GHz. So it stayed above the rated base clock. The temps dropped dramatically down to 66 degrees after it stabilized. That's very cool, but the performance drops like the temps do. ASUS has tuned this laptop with battery life and noise in mind. They got the quiet part down very good as the fan is very quiet. But the laptop still gets uncomfortably hot on the bottom and is not usable on your lap when it's under load. By the way, it was plugged into the wall during all the benchmarks. If we compare that to the HP Envy X360 with the Ryzen 5 4500U, the Ryzen processor boosted up to 3.3 GHz and stayed there, and the temps were around 86 degrees Celsius, and the chassis was much cooler than the ZenBook. But you can't really compare two different laptops with different chassis, cooling solutions and tunings. So I won't compare them. Yeah. The gaming performance is not bad, but it's not great either. You can run games like CSGO, Rocket League, League of Legends at 1080p and you'll get 40 to 60 Hz on low settings. So it's okay for very casual gaming, and you're probably not buying this for the gaming performance. But I was expecting the G7 graphics to be a bit better than this. The 1W screen and the aggressive tuning of the CPU makes this laptop get very good battery life at the cost of performance, but battery life is more important than performance for the people buying this kind of laptop. So ASUS has not done anything unusual here. I had no major issues with this particular machine, except for one time the laptop would not turn back on after I closed the lid. The power button did nothing, and closing and opening the lid did nothing either, and yes, I did have an almost full battery charge. The solution to that was to hold the power button down for 30 seconds to do a hard reset, and it worked nice after that. It only happened once during a period of 1 week. So let's do a quick summary of the good and the bad. The good: the matte screen with good brightness, the keyboard, the trackpad, the build quality, quiet fan, good SSD performance, Windows Hello camera, Thunderbolt 3 and great battery life. And the bad: the hot chassis under load, poor CPU performance, poor GPU performance, very expensive, at least here in Sweden, no touchscreen, power button placement and upgradability. So what do I think about this laptop? It's a well-built, light as a feather laptop with a great screen, keyboard, trackpad and amazing battery life. But as soon as you try pushing it with some more intensive tasks like gaming, video encoding or anything that uses the CPU or GPU more than 50%, it falls on its face. The performance is only good for streaming movies, typing up documents, doing some very light audio production and video editing. And if you primarily use your laptop for typing documents or streaming video, then the i7 model and 16 gigs of RAM is way overkill. It of course depends on what you want to do with the laptop, but as I said earlier, you can't really do intensive tasks on this. I still can't recommend this to anyone at this price. The performance is simply too bad for the price and the specs. Am I expecting too much from this? Do you own one of these laptops? How has your experience been using it? Please let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again sometime in the future. Do not forget to subscribe and like the video.